Okay, prop the mic here. We're back. What's up?
Back. Little break. We attempted to do a pod multiple times over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 days, but it was like the lineups were just so horrible. It was hard to justify the time. But
Yes.
here we are. The play-in has started. Last night was fun. Lakers took that win in overtime, and I think tonight's games are going to be equally good.
Yeah, nobody wanted to score in that. I know it was hard on the East Coast to stay up. That game finished pretty late, especially with the overtime. But here in LA, we were up watching it, and it was a little rough for a while there. It was some comeback for the Lakers, but nobody could hit anything, especially Edwards. Edwards was like awful in that game.
Yeah. I went to bed around halftime, and I was dreaming of a Rui assist, and I woke up, bam.
I told you.
So I might have another one of those today too.
Okay.
One assist play.
All right.
But yeah, let's dive into it. We're going to do a quick show today. We only got 2 games. And these, keep in mind, yesterday was the 7 versus 8. So those were like what I would call like a game 6.5, right? It's like pretty intense, but you still got lose, another game. This is truly a game 7. The loser is out. So
yeah.
So very important game for a team. So I think expect big minutes by the Stars tonight. Yep. First one, we got the 7 p.m. game. I believe these are on ESPN tonight. Bulls at the Raptors. Raptors are -5.5 at home. Total is 212.5. So it should be a little bit of a defensive battle. But these two teams have played 3 times this season. The Raptors took 2 out of 3. And the interesting part is the home team won all 3 games. So that would lend itself towards a Raptors victory. But the margin of victory in all 3 games, 9 points, 4 points, and 6 points. So tight games in all of them. So expect the same tonight.
All right. So what do we got matchup-wise here? Primary ball handlers against Chicago have been performing well. I'm looking at everything just post All-Star break pretty much here. So that would be Fred VanVleet. So I like him here. One of the things I like, primary ball handlers averaging almost 7 3-point attempts per game against Chicago since the All-Star break. And that's Freddie's game here. So I think this should be some decent 3-point attempts for him tonight. So I like his over 2.5 threes. It's -146. But he's done it in 4 of 5 against Chicago, his last 4 or 5 against Chicago. And he's done it in his last 8 of 10 at home. And those are all, I noticed there seems to be an uptick in his threes since the addition of Pirtle. I was noticing there's a trend there. So
that would make sense. A better low post presence will draw the defenders
drawing
down,
guys in,
and open it up. So I like that. I really I didn't find a play for FVV, but I kind of felt like my gut just told me this is an FVV night. So I could see him bombing away, hitting 4 or 5 threes tonight.
Yeah. So he's from Illinois. He's from Northern Illinois. So he's got. I'm sure. Obviously, you grew up in Illinois. You're a Bulls fan, but there was this thing. I did a little bit of digging because you have time when there's only 2 games and all this extra time. So he was getting recruited by these big Chicago prep schools to play and turned them all down because he wanted to stay like in his smaller, Northern Illinois situation up there. So there's something going on here. And obviously 4 or 5 against Chicago, like he seems to perform really well against the Bulls. So I like that extra, I love an extra narrative in there.
Of course, especially during the playoffs.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we got FEV. Anybody else you like tonight?
Yeah. Just want to throw this out there. I like this also. If you want to tick his 3 points down to 2 threes made and tack on 2 steals, I like this quite a bit. Freddie is going to get after the steals today in this game. So 2 threes and 2 steals. This is a parlay with your name on it. It's plus 111. Get plus money. And he's done it like the 2 threes he's done in 53 of 63 games. That's 84% hit rate. when he plays over 30 minutes. And then the 2 steals he's done in his last 13 of 16 games at home when he plays more than 30 minutes, and his last 7 of 10 overall. So I think that's a nice bet. Yeah.
I think that's nice. I always like the FVV 2 steals. He can get that in the first half.
For sure.
So, okay, good. Who else you got?
I like, one other. I liked OG here on the Toronto side. I liked his par, 22.5 par. He seems to have, it's a good matchup for him as like a shooting forward. And he seems to perform really well against Chicago. You can also read into the Chicago. I like this matchup specifically because Toronto's team and Chicago's team very similar from last year to this year, right?
Yeah.
So you can read into those. You can take something from those previous years' stats. So I like his 22.5 par minus 105, which is nice. He's done it in 5 of 6 against Chicago, averaging 28.5. So 6 par over. And then I thought this was interesting. This kind of went with the Rui play. It's 1.5 assists. It's not available on FanDuel or DraftKings, but it is available on Caesars. I didn't look at BetMGM, but over 1.5 assists, minus 150. He's done this in 5 of 6 against Chicago, and he's his last 5 playoff games. He's also cleared this in 5 of his last 5 playoff games.
Yeah, that's great. I like that a lot. And just as a general strategy, I'll tell you kind of what I was looking at today. I think in general, you need to look at minutes. That's why our partners over at props.cash, they have this awesome filter on their site that allows you to kind of show what players do at 30 minutes, 35 minutes. This is if you look at the last week, a lot of these players, their props don't look like high hit rates. But the last 5 games, they were playing lower minutes because of the nature of the regular season. Yeah. You knock those out. Just raise up the minutes. A lot of these guys are going to play 30, 35 minutes tonight. And then these low assist lines actually end up cashing, just like Rui did last night. Yeah. So I love that. That's a good one. Okay. Yeah. I got one play on the Raptors side. I like Pirtle tonight over 11.5 points. He's done this in all 3 games against Chicago this year, having 21, 14, and 14. I think at least the last one, if not the last 2, he was on the Raptors for that one. Mm-hmm. But again, looking at the minutes filter, if you take him up to 25 minutes and isolate just the games where he's been on the Raptors, he's actually hit this 12 points in 15 of 19 games. So super high hit rate. And that's only at 25 minutes. I could see him playing 30 plus today. I didn't look at what that filter gives you, but I think he's a strong play against Boost tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, these guys, Pirtle won't play 40 minutes, but
30 is kind of his upper limit.
But yeah. FVV and Siakam and OG and Barnes, they'll all 4 of those guys will play 40 minutes in this game.
35 to 40 minutes, somewhere in that range. So okay. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the Bulls side. Who's I got a lot of plays on the Bulls side.
Do you? Okay. I just got one, so I'll get mine out of the way, and then I'll hand the floor over to you. So you just mentioned him, Vucevic. I like him here. I like his par, 30.5 par, minus 120. 6 straight games against Toronto. He's cleared this. His last 8 of 10 when he plays 30 plus minutes, averaging 35.2. And matchup wise, versatile bigs against Toronto, averaging just under 34 par since the All-Star break.
I like that a lot.
That's some monster games. That included, games from Vus, some monster games from Porzingis, Joval's in there. So yeah, this is a nice matchup.
Good. Yeah, I isolated just his assists. I liked him at 2.5 assists, which he's done in all 3 games against Toronto. Again, you look at his last 10 games of the season, he only covered this in 6 of the 10, but one of them was the last game of the season where he only played, I think, 15 minutes. Another one of those misses was the game he got ejected against the Lakers. So you take those 2 out, that's 6 of 8. That's pretty high hit rate, and it was minus 130, so decent odds. Also, if you isolate him playing 31 minutes or more, which I think he will tonight, he's had a 70% hit rate across the entire season. So
I looked at
3 assists is pretty good, and I also liked his points and assists. So pretty much a par is a good play too. So all right, so we're both on Vus. Let me keep going and round this out. super sneaky play. I don't really understand it, but Caruso.
Okay.
Rebounds and assists over 4.5.
Yeah.
He's done this in I think 7 of his last 10 games on the road. But listen to his 3 games against Toronto this year. 22 RA, 22 RA, that's in one game, 11 RA, and 10 RA.
Wow.
So, and I looked, DeRozan and Levine played in all 3 of those games. So I don't really know what his deal. We got to maybe dig into his family tree and see if he's got some Canadian blood or something. But
interesting.
But he seems to go off against Toronto. So it was a nice low line.
Yeah.
I was debating between the rebounds and the assists because those are around like 2.5. Mm-hmm. But I kind of felt like, put those 2 together. And I could see him getting some big minutes tonight in what's going to be a bit of a defensive battle. So what do you think?
I like it. I think he for sure will play big minutes in this game. And I think it makes sense, right? That the fact that DeRozan, I mean, he's not a scoring option at all, right? His usage rate is probably one of the lowest in the league. So yeah, I think it makes sense in a high pressure situation with Levine and DeRozan. Like that's going to open up assist opportunities for him. And
and the rebounds will come off of the fact that this is a 212-point game.
Exactly.
So okay, so that's Caruso 4.5 RA. I also another super low line. This is the one I was talking about. Pat Williams, 1 assist.
Okay, here we go.
He's done this in 8 of his last 10 games, and his 3 games against Toronto this year, 1, 2, and 1. Again, he's a guy who seems to be getting bigger minutes as the season progresses. Mm-hmm. Also a pretty good defensive player. I could see him getting some extended run in this game. So 1 little assist. If he gets 20, 25 minutes, I think he's got this. So. And
we don't have to go to like a shady offshore sports book to find this.
I didn't look where that one was, but BetMGM.
Sure we can find it. Yeah.
BetMGM, I think, is a fairly reputable site. So go over there. Anytime you see these like 1 assist props, they're usually there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right. So who are you picking in that game? Bulls or Raptors? Just straight up money line. Who do you like?
My gut tells me Toronto, right?
Yeah.
But I was here, in my research and listening, I was hearing some things that like, I think it was Jalen Rose was like calling them. He had some name for it where like a team that, like that's in the playoffs, but they got their bags packed already. And like they're mailing like, apparently Nick Nurse is done. He's out of Toronto after this season. So he was saying that there's, what's your gut here?
I mean, looking at history, the Raptors took 2 out of 3 in the regular season, which would tell me they have a deeper team. But I just feel like the Bulls, I don't know. I kind of feel like the Bulls, especially with the points, are gonna take this one. So
they've been playing well. We also failed to point out DeMar DeRozan, drafted by the Raptors, traded away for Kawhi Leonard, now getting to play his former team that he played a lot of years at. In the playoffs. So I think that's also a nice narrative here to look at.
Right. He's probably a little jealous of Lowry's game last night too. So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So let's move on. We'll go with the Bulls on that one. Thunder at the Pelicans. Pelicans are -5.5 as well in this game. Total is 227. These teams played 4 times this season. Pelicans won the first game by 4. They won the second game by 3 in overtime. Third game, they won by 3. And the fourth game, which was most recent, the Thunder won that one by 14. So Pelicans have kind of owned this series, but, they're not quite the team that they were in the beginning of the season. So who knows what to take from those earlier games. All right.
I'd be afraid of OKC in this game. They weren't expected to be here, whereas like New Orleans was disappointing, fell short of their expectations, especially the way the season started. I'd be a little nervous of this OKC team. Obviously less talent, but kind of nothing to lose playing with house money,
Yeah, I think if Ingram doesn't score 30 points in this game, the Pelicans will lose. It's one of those games where he's going to need to put up a monster game.
Yeah.
So, or McCollum is going to need to put up a big game. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I don't have either of those guys. So, who do you like in these?
Well,
in these
your Ingram 30-point call leads me right into my first play. I'm just going to put it out there. SGA 30 points parlayed with Ingram 30 points. It's almost plus 150.
Wow.
I think this is like a no-brainer in this game. I mean, that was last night. I have a feeling maybe those odds have gone down a bit, but I looked during the Lakers game last night, and you could get that. It was like plus 148. I think that's almost a no-brainer in this game.
Yeah. If anything, I would tweak. If you're good with something closer to plus 100, I'd maybe tweak Ingram down to like 27, 28 points.
Sure.
And SGA at 30. But if you're looking for a plus 150, that's nice. I like that. Okay.
And the reason I like that, it's a nice matchup here because you have a matchup against the Pelicans, shot creating guards, which is SGA. Really nice spot. And then just on the other side, you have shot creating like wing forward types, which is Ingram. Also an amazing spot for both of these guys. So I really like that play quite a bit. Moving on, let's see here. I liked so your forwards, the finish at the rim type forwards, which is Herb Jones here, in a really nice matchup. I liked his RA over 6.5. This is an adjusted line. I think you'll see it out there at 7.5 now, but you can get 6.5 at minus 150. He's done this in 16 straight games when he plays more than 30 minutes, and he's averaging almost 9.5 RA in those 16 games. So this is another one. You got that 30-minute filter is huge here.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble, he will play, I think, 35 plus minutes.
They need him out. Yeah, they need him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like that. I also like his points. That was really the matchup. It was the points, the scoring here matchup wise. So I also like this alted down. I think you'll see it at 11.5. If you bring it down to 10.5, though, he's done it in his last 9 of 11 games with 30 plus minutes, averaging 15 points in those 11 games.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like him. I also, the play I had on him, don't forget about turnovers, right? 1.5 turnovers. He's done this in 3 out of 4 games against OKC. But also, like, as you're looking into, players playing 30, going from 30 minutes up to 35 minutes, the more time you spend on the floor, the more turnovers you're going to have. So that's also another way of kind of playing, especially in these Game 7 type environments where people are, a little anxious. So I think that might be a good play as well, in addition to his RA and his points. So,
okay. All right. Yep. I like that.
And then what about our man, Joe Val? You like him tonight too?
I like Joe Val. I was on his so it's a good matchup versus versatile bigs against OKC, averaging just under 20 points per game and over 10 rebounds a game since the All-Star break. So I liked it. The 11.5, his line's 11.5 rebounds. He's done it in 10 of 11 games when he plays 24 plus minutes. So I thought that was nice. But what do you like?
This was just like the most beautiful props.cast chart I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
so
okay.
13.5 points is his line on points. So I first filtered it down to 30 minutes because he's typically like a 25-minute kind of guy. But as they started to get into crunch time where they were falling out of the playoffs, they were playing him 30-plus minutes. So I think he's going to play big minutes tonight. I think he'll play 30 minutes. He might even play closer to 33, 34 minutes. In 30-plus minute games this season, he's 10 for 12, right?
Yeah.
Crossing 13.5 points. If you look at last season, including last season, he's 57 for 62. So he played a lot more 30-minute games last year.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go down to 30 or up to 33 minutes. 33 minutes this season, he's 5 for 5, crossing 13.5 points. In the last 2 seasons combined, 31 for 31. So if this guy hits 33 minutes tonight, it's almost a guarantee that he's getting 14 points. Like he delivers on more minutes. So
And I like to, I can just to point out, they had a playing game last season against the Spurs. He played almost 37 minutes in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely the only way that he's not playing like 30 plus minutes tonight.
It's a blowout.
Is if it's a blowout.
Yeah.
Where the Pelicans actually either way, because if they fall down by 10 points or 15 points in the fourth quarter, he's probably coming out to put more shooters out there. If they're up by 20 points,
he'll come out to rest.
He might come out. He may play, right, just for defensive purposes and grab some boards. So anyway. Love Jovel tonight, especially on the points, but the rebounds is nice as well.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Anybody else you got here?
Yeah. One other, there's no lines out on him yet, but our boy Najee is in a really nice matchup here. I'd like to see some Najee lines because I'm sure they'll be real low and he'll get a little, obviously a little run with that second unit there. So I'd like to look at that. The
default Najee line is 6.5 points.
Yeah.
So what that means is usually in the playoffs, they bring some of the point totals down. So I could see him coming out with a 5.5 point. Yeah. So
there you go.
I could see Najee 5.5. That's a great line for him.
That's nice. Yeah. The one other thing I wanted to find. So primary ball handlers against OKC is a nice matchup, specifically assists since the All-Star break, averaging over 7.2 assists per game. It's just kind of hard. Like they don't really have a primary ball handler. Like it's CJ who's their point guard, but he's really not been great. It's almost like Ingram is really their primary ball handler. So it kind of leads me what I was getting at after all that is like it puts me even more on Ingram. I think it's like a double dip on Ingram here. So I was also kind of fiddling around with an Ingram because he fills up the stat sheet, right? Like an adjusted point, rebound, and assist parlay on Ingram, I think is a nice spot. Like 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. Everything altered down. I'm going to look at that later. I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah. I think he's good for 20 shots tonight. I think he's going to shoot the ball so much. So I think his 30 points is a pretty good bet from earlier. But yeah, if you want to try to tease it down a little bit, the only way he doesn't score big is if the Bulls have some sort of defensive scheme where they are double teaming him, which I've seen happen a bunch in the last couple weeks, where they'll just kind of drop 2 guys off and basically just let everybody else shoot. But you got to be careful with that with the Pelicans, right? They got a bunch of shooters with Trey Murphy and McCollum, so they can't necessarily do that. So okay, good. Anybody else?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, it's early in the day, so we'll keep our eye out on this, and we will certainly, if we see another prop come out that we like, we'll throw it up on Twitter. But nice, clean 2 picks, 2 games, a couple picks, and it'll be fun. I think these will be competitive games tonight.
Yeah, I'm really excited for these ones, even more so. I don't know than last night's. I don't know. For some reason, I'm more excited about these 2 games. So
yeah, awesome.
All right,
cool. Good to be back. See ya.
Right, for sure.